Welcome to Alan and Dan Review Stuff. I'm your host, Dan Burke, and joining me is my other host, the immensely talented and charm school alumni, Alan Freeman. Alan, you want to say hello?
Yes, hello.
Very good. That's why we've got him on the payroll, folks. Well, I've been having a great week. How are you doing?
Doing very well.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Alan, I'm going to let you introduce our first topic for us, and I'm going to hand it off to you right now.
I'm reading the David Sedaris, Sedaris, book called When You Are Engulfed in Flames. Anyone that's familiar with David Sedaris already knows that he makes fun of himself and his family and anyone he's come in contact with in his entire life. And so he has 13 other books. I just discovered that he has a new book that just came out, which I ordered. But anyway, to give you a taste of his work.
First off, I've never heard of him. So are all his books humor books? That's my first question.
Yes, they're all humorous and very funny. And he is the brother of Amy Sedaris, the comedian, stand-up comedian and movie actress.
Okay.
She was in Second City, one of those groups.
Are the books contemporary, or are they stories set in different time periods, or what are they about?
They're all about his life. So I'm going to read just a tiny bit because I thought it was hilarious. And here we go. I don't know why it was exactly, but nothing irritated my father quite like the sound of his children's happiness. Group crying he could stand, but group laughter was asking for it, especially at the dinner table. The problem was there was so much to laugh at, particularly during the years that our Greek grandmother lived with us. Had we been older, it might have been different. The poor thing has gas, we might have said. For children, though, nothing beats a flatulent old lady. What made it all the crazier was that she wasn't embarrassed by it, no more than our collie, Duchess, was. It sounded as if she were testing out a chainsaw, yet her face remained impressive and unchanging. Something funny, our father would ask, as if he had heard, as if his chair, too, had not vibrated in the aftershock. You think something funny, don't you? If keeping a straight face was difficult, saying no was so distracting that it caused pain. So you were laughing at nothing? Yes, nothing. There would come another mighty rip, and what was difficult would now be impossible. My father kept a heavy serving spoon next to his plate, and I can't remember how many times he brought it down on my head. You still think there's something to laugh about? Strange that being walloped with a heavy spoon made everything seem funnier. But there you have it. My sisters and I would be helpless, doubled over, milk spraying out of our mouths and noses, the force of all the stronger for having been bottled up.
Oh, man, what a great writing that is. That's fantastic.
Oh, my gosh. I
can see why you like it. That's terrific. It reminds me a lot of Gene Shepard, the humorist writer. That is fantastic. That's a great recommendation from you. And you said he has how many books?
13 books.
Wow.
And I've read 3. Let's see. He's got Me Talk Pretty One Day. That's I listened to that free on YouTube, audio book. Then he has Calypso, which was really fantastic. And then I'm just now finishing When You Are Engulfed in Flames.
Wow, that is great stuff. Well, I'm going to have to pick up one of those books and read it. That sounds really good.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go on to our next topic, and that is the Prime Video series, which evidently is the #1 show on Prime. Who would ever imagine that? Is The Wheel of Time, based on a series of fantasy books for young adults. I watched this series twice, as a matter of fact, while I was doing some model building, because, you need something on while you're building models. And
right.
I enjoyed it. And from what I understand, it's quite divergent from the books, which has caused a loud outcry from the people who love the books. But since I myself have not read the books, I just took the series at face value, and I thought it was a pretty good series. I love the lady who plays the lead actress. I thought it was super compelling. And for those who don't know, I'm going to give you the story in a couple strokes. It's about a lady who is some kind of sorceress, I guess. She can channel intense magic. And she goes to a small village to round up some people she thinks at one point might become the most powerful channeler of the age. And that person will either allow the evil guy to conquer the earth, or that person will stop the evil entity from conquering the earth. And that's it in a couple broad strokes. So, Alan, I hand it back to you. What did you think of the show? Because I know you recently just watched it.
Yeah, I just kind of watched all of it in a day or so. And I thought it was really well done. It really kept my interest. You had the 5 people that she chose to go on this mission. And it was interesting, too, that whichever one of them is not the dragon, the main person that's going to have all these powers, the rest are all going to die. So she's trying to figure out which one's the dragon before they get to that point, because she didn't want the other 4 to have to die in the process. So I thought that was fascinating.
Yes, and I thought the enemy, which a lot like Lord of the Rings is a horde of, killing beasts and monsters, was particularly scary. In the first episode, the bad monsters come in and overrun this village, and kill everybody. So it's like a half bull, half human thing with horns and stuff, and just crazy. And the visuals were great. The special effects were great. I thought they spent the appropriate amount of money on special effects to make it look real. And I really enjoyed that a lot. And there was a lot of tension in the thing. And I really enjoyed the relationship between the main sorceress lady and the guy who is, I guess, sworn to her and psychically linked to her as a protector. So she has like a bodyguard. And I thought he was a terrific actor.
Yeah, it seems
great.
like all of those witch-type ladies have their protector that goes with them wherever they go, And, that guy was really good. He's kind of Asian.
Yeah.
Looking guy.
I thought what really, really was great for me about the show is there was intense world building. I found by the time she got to the Citadel, or wherever the heck it was, the White Tower, where she gets to meet up with the other sorceresses, because that's where they all live, and that's where the queen lives, the queen sorceress. I really have a sense of the different factions infighting amongst the other sorceresses, how it might go in the future, depending on how that goes. And I thought it was fantastic that it turns out she's having a relationship with the queen that is hidden from everybody.
That was a surprise.
Yes, that was a great surprise. So there was a lot of great stuff in the show as reveals went that was really good for me. And I loved the tension between her and the other sorceress who wears the red leather outfit, the little blonde lady with the little mouse face. And at the very end of it, she blackmails her. She steps her and says, "Listen, I'll tell everybody that you're having sex with some guy down in the village, and your sisters will kill him if I tell them. And so you just keep your mouth shut."
I think the entire Red group, which she's a part of, is anti-male, because they had this big party at the beginning, and it was only for women. And so they're anti-male. Yeah.
yeah. So I thought that was great when she finally shuts her down in that scene. It was terrific.
Oh yeah.
So a great sense of foreboding throughout the thing. They have to travel to the center of this forest that is a lot like the forest from like Snow White or something, covered in talinous, briars and stuff. They have to make their way through this and finally confront the evil guy. And there's a lot of layers to this. It sounds simplistic as I'm describing it, but it's not. It's actually quite layered and nuanced. And I thought it was a weird choice, especially when I rewatched it. The heroine gets injured in the very first episode, and so for the next couple episodes, all she does is lay there and be sick as an actress. You know, it's like they're carrying her around and moving her body, you know.
The main witch lady? Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah.
And I always thought it would be weird to be in a TV show and you're cast as a person who is in like a hospital bed in a coma. And so every day you get back in the bed and you close your eyes and you pretend you're in a coma.
And then you get paid.
Right. So that's what she had to do for like 3 episodes. She just laid there on the ground and they darkened her eyes to make her look sick.
Once they I thought try to wake her up just enough to save their lives, and then she's back to dying again. Yep.
There's a lot of great characters to root for in this. And that's another thing. I especially liked the lady who, I guess, what did they call her? She's some kind of person who can cure people. I forget the terminology they use. But that girl, that actress, was so compelling. I thought she was great. So there's a lot of great characters to root for here, and you really care about what the heck happens to them. And the bad guys are completely sadistic, completely powerful, surprisingly one step ahead of the good guys. And I thought really, really good. So I'm looking forward to a second season, the most popular show on Prime, mind-blowing. Give me some more thoughts from you about it.
Well, I already knew that it would probably be good because I watch a lot of book reviews on YouTube. They call it BookTube. But there were a few where they went through their entire best fantasy books ever, and their whole house is full of books, right? So they went through their best top 10, and it was near the very top is always The Wheel of Time, and that's like a lot of these guys, that's their favorite series. So I knew it had to be good.
Wow. I'm almost tempted to read the books, frankly. It's so strong. But I think the main change that is unfortunate for me is that the lead sorceress in the books is actually a very young person in her teens, I think. And on the TV show, she's a very mature woman, you know, in her 30s at least. And I said I really like the actress and very compelling for that reason. I'm not so enamored with following the adventures of teenagers, even though I've watched many films, you know, that have that premise. You know, they're young, they're special, you know, that kind of thing.
The romance.
Budding romances as they come into their adulthood. But I myself, personally, I'm not drawn to that type of character. I like them a little more complex, a little more lived in, I guess. Anyway, great show. What would you number it on a scale of 1 to 10? I'm always curious of your rating.
I would probably give it a 9 because my only complaint was that they were all about the same age, you know, and then I kept getting the two confused. The two girls that were the same height, the same dark hair. They looked very similar. One had a thing in her nose, though, some little ornament thing. But I started getting those two a little confused at one point. But
and they're best friends. And they're best friends, by the way.
Yeah.
So
now, wasn't that one of those was like a sixth person, right? Because she got carried away by those creatures, and then she comes back later.
Carried away.
There was really 6 that had powers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they really made it look like she would be the one. She was going to end up being the dragon. Yeah.
I loved her character, the one that is dragged away. I thought she was a great character.
Yeah. Yes. And she was always questioning everything, where everyone else was just doing what the main witch would say. But she was like, why are we listening to her?
Yes, I loved, and I thought that was the way an actual person would react, frankly. You know, it's like, you know, you show up here and say, listen, Dan, we're going on a quest. And I'm like, are we? You know.
Yeah, right. You say so.
And that was her character. Yeah. That was her character. I'd probably go with you, actually, Alan. I've got nothing going on. I'd go on your quest.
We're looking for the most expensive Hot Wheel.
That's exactly. We'll find it, by God. We'll find it.
If we have to cover the earth, we'll find it.
On a different note, as we leave Wheel of Time, I also gave it an 8.5 score. Is Jack Reacher is turning out to be a huge hit for Prime Video.
Isn't it supposed to be the number one? Well, IMDb says it's the number one show out right now on any platform.
Well, rather than going away, it's gaining momentum.
Right.
Which is unusual. Most shows come out and they disappear. I mean, just being honest. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what they were afraid of when they released them all at once. They're like, everyone's gonna love to, binge it and watch them all, but then it'll just fade just as quick is what they thought would happen. Yeah.
I think Jack Reacher is such a strong show, and it does so many things right that I think it's completely rewatchable, which is something you can't say for many shows. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. I think what it's so good about it was, and I realized this while I was watching it, is that it's so opposite of the woke trend that's going on right now with everything else. It's just like threw that all out the window and said, screw that, we're doing this,
Yeah, I don't know what the woke thing is about. It's a lot like CRTs that fake art people buy or whatever, digital GIFs or something. Like, there's some things I don't think I'm going to be able to understand. I'm not going to be able to understand certain. Yeah, that's what it is. I'm not going to be able to understand certain things in this life, and I'm okay with that. Now, the guy that plays Reacher, I've been researching him. Richardson, yes. He's fascinating. And I think his transformation into Reacher, because I used to be a bodybuilder and an athlete, his transformation from a little skinny actor into Reacher is really cool. I watched a whole video of his workout training and all the stuff he did to get ready. He gained 30 pounds.
Yep.
So it was really cool. I really liked that aspect of it where, he trained hard for the part. He wanted it, and just terrific because he was actually a very lanky type guy in the way Clint Eastwood was lanky. He was actually very lanky. So hats off to him for making a physical transformation, which is not easy for anybody.
He'll just tell you anything. Anything they ask him, he'll answer it no matter how personal it is. So I was very shocked
I know.
At some of the stuff he says.
He's so real. I agree with you. He's shockingly real. I'm not going to get into all the things I watched, but he's had problems like every human being. I think he has bipolar disorder, and
he's on medication.
So no life is free of bumpy roads. There's no question about it. But he has such an attitude about facing them head on and talking about them candidly that it's really surprising. Most people are very cagey about themselves. He's the opposite. It's really interesting.
There's two or three or more interviews where they have a Zoom meeting with him, and Lee Child is in the meeting, and they just love each other. I mean, they just go back and forth how much and how happy they are, that it's all working out so well. Yeah.
Alan, have you ever seen a person play a part in a movie, and the person in the film, the character is really, really wacky? You know what I mean? And then you're thinking, well, wow, like that's a crazy part they have the person play. And then the person comes out like on some kind of variety show where they're interviewed or something, and the person is even crazier in their real life than they were as that character. Now, Alan Richardson's the opposite. He's completely straight dude, looks like a mailman. But I had that experience happen to me today where I was looking at this actress's interview, and man, in real life, I don't know what to call the look. I've never seen a look like this. I guess it's punk rock, sort of crazy, futuristic. I don't know what you call it, but anyway, she had a haircut like I've never seen any human on Earth have a haircut. It was shocking. But has that ever happened to you, where you're thinking no one could possibly be any weirder than this, and then you see them on TV and they're even weirder?
There's only a couple times I can think of, and one would be like Robin Williams, where he's just running through the audience and doing whatever the hell he wants to do, you know, when he's on talk shows and stuff. And the other one is that girl, and I'm trying to think of her name. She's got black hair. She always acts so depressed, and she was on Parks and Rec, and she was dating.
Oh yeah,
Chris guy. Yeah, she was young.
Aubrey Plaza. Plaza. Yeah.
I keep watching her interviews, and she is so crazy and funny.
She is.
As hell. And she's so deadpan.
You watched it. Yeah. You watched the TV show Ozark, I presume. We talked about that.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Do you know the blonde girl who plays the crazy little blonde hair, little tiny girl? Yes. Well, she is quite an actress. She's so intense on that show. It's amazing. She is in a new Netflix show called Inventing Anna, which is about this lady, Anna, who fleeced a bunch of rich people and the banks by pretending to be rich, and they eventually throw her butt in jail for all the fraud she committed. Mm-hmm. So she's being interviewed. Now, in that show, I found that show unwatchable. I tried to watch it, but her accent is so horrific, so crazy, which I guess is accurate to the real person, that I couldn't watch it. I had like 5 minutes of that, and I had to turn it off because I'd kill myself. I'd listen to any more of that. But anyway, the point of this is I watched an interview with her, and let me tell you, you think that character on Ozark is perhaps a little wacky looking, or the other characters? No. She is who's the guy that walks around in makeup all the time? Marilyn Manson?
Yeah.
Yeah, like she would be totally awesome as his girlfriend. Like two of a kind right there. That really kind of look that you really can't nail down, but it's not quite you expect at the supermarket. Like if your dentist came in like that, you would bolt out of the chair and run. So, but anyway, she's a very sweet girl, very smart actress, very nice girl. I liked her personality a lot, but her look is on a whole nother level. Because most actresses, you know, when they interview them, they're kind of normal. Like the girl that plays the deputy in Reacher, when they interview her, she's beautiful, long blonde hair, very normal looking girl. In fact, they make her look ugly on Reacher. In real life, she's beautiful.
I was shocked how much more beautiful she was in those interviews. I was shocked.
Yes, she's like me too. It's like, holy cow! Like they don't even let her put on a scrap of makeup on Reacher, evidently. She's beautiful and such a nice girl, such a sweet, nice girl.
Dressed like a sheriff, you know, and she's got her hair back, and they try to downplay how beautiful she is.
Yeah. Anyway, the girl from Ozark in real life is a wild child. So I was blown away by her actual real life persona.
I know she's such a badass in the Ozark. I mean, she's like practically she could be running a criminal empire, you know, the way she acts.
She is so much more scary than Boba Fett that there's no comparison. Like you believe she could run a town and be mean about it. Boba Fett was like the local Barney Fife wandering the streets going howdy. He's
only got one laser shell in his pocket.
Yeah, I guess I'm never going to get past how bad Boba Fett was. Woo!
Oh my God.
Sometimes I think it's all just a scam to sell Grogu dolls. Oh, don't think that way, Dan. You're just imagining it.
Well, there's a lot of people, like you said, that are just like brainwashed. And whatever Disney puts out, you know, that has something to do with Star Wars, they're just going to love it, no matter what.
No, I have a completely off-the-wall topic that I'm going to spring out of the box here. And this is fresh out of the vault from 1972. I know Alan always likes to have things fresh. So 72 is pretty fresh for us. And this is Jack Kirby's Demon comic book. For those who don't know about Jack Kirby's Demon, Jack Kirby moves from Marvel to DC, and they lure him over by saying he can write and edit his own books. He's about a year and a half into that when they cancel all the books he was writing and editing and said, no more New Gods, no more Mystery Miracle, do something else. And he goes, well, what do you want me to do? Over at Marvel, Tomb of Dracula was the best-selling book by Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan right at the time. So horror was a big thing right then at that moment. So they said to Jack, well, Jack, invent us a horror book. So Jack invents the Demon. Now, I want to put yourself in Jack Kirby's shoes at this moment in history. They've canceled what is essentially his Jack Reacher series and said to him, we don't want any more Jack Reacher. Write something else. And tell you what, write something about horror. And he's, totally, what I love about this is out of the complete dregs of defeat, the ashes of defeat, he comes up with a bunch of new concepts, Command Eye, the Demon, and some others. And the Demon turns out to be one of my favorite books. It runs 16 issues. It's absolutely fantastic. It's much bigger a story than you'd think, even though it's told issue to issue. There's a character in there called Witch Boy that's like nothing else in comics. What a fantastic character. And anyway, I can't recommend Jack Kirby's Demon enough. We transition from the last peak of his art. He has several peaks in his art, and we transition right there from his last great peak, somewhere around issue 6. He starts drawing a little faster, a little less detailed. I don't know why, but it happens. And so his art is never as good as it is in those first 6 issues, and the way Commandy's first issue is amazing and so on. But anyway, Jack Kirby, at his peak, doing the Demon series, turned out to be one of my favorite comic books ever. What do you think about the Demon, Alan? Were you reading it back then in 1972?
Yes. I was on my bike, and I would ride down to the 7-Eleven, and that's what I was picking up, were 20-cent Kirby DC books. And I also liked Mr. Miracle a lot, and Command.
Me too. I loved him.
And you're right, though.
Loved
I
him.
noticed his art would slowly... It's already like a simplistic version of other people's art, but he's still good. And then it slowly started to get more simple, as far as less lines in the art. You know, and they started looking more like they were cut out of wood. Everything looked a little more angular. But the stories were still good.
Well, evidently his art was pretty darn angular over at Marvel, but Joe Sinnott would smooth out the faces, especially the eyeballs, mouths, and noses. And so he did a lot of smoothing. Now, even though there's definitely 99% Jack Kirby in all those drawings, he did some smoothing. And I think he gave direct directions to Mike Royer, do not change a line. And so you could see this transition we're talking about as he was drawing more complicated, more intensely, to becoming more simplified, even though the layouts are still amazing.
Yeah.
Just, his strength of panel-to-panel storytelling and making it exciting, whether it was an explosion or an argument, is just terrific.
Well, even when he had his simple sort of style, he did like the Eternals around that same period, I think. And he still had, you would open up to a double-page spread, and it would show the whole universe, and I would be like, oh, my God. Yeah.
Oh, so good. The controversy between him and Stan Lee about who created what will go on into eternity, and the way it looks like history is going to be written is they're going to give Stan Lee a lot more credit than he deserved. But what I loved about this period from 1970 on is that Stan Lee doesn't get any more credit for the things that Jack Kirby invents. And if leaving Marvel did nothing else, it did that. And when he came back to Marvel and he invented the Internals and he did the Series 2001 and all the other things he did when he returned to Marvel, Stan Lee didn't get a bit of credit for that stuff. And, man, that really warms my heart at night, because Stan Lee, man, talk about a shifty character.
Well, they can, like Stan could say anything he wanted, and then Jack could say anything he wanted, right? Back and forth. But the true test to me is that where's all Stan's great ideas once Jack left? What happened?
Oh, exactly.
Why weren't the ideas still rolling, along? Like if he invented all this stuff himself.
Yeah, he never had an idea, as it turns out. Now, I guess he sort of invented Daredevil, I guess. Can we say that about Stan Lee? I don't know. Did Stan Lieber invent him? I'm not sure who but I don't think
Don Heck or someone had something to do with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure that, even though I think Kirby may have drawn the cover, I'm not sure, quote unquote, he had anything to do with making Daredevil at all, Jack Kirby. But I think that might have been one of Stan's actual creations. Looking back on it, it's
the origin.
It's hard to. Yeah, but another. Well, I hate to go off on tangents, so I'll just stop in a second. But the really sleaziest thing Marvel ever did was steal the copyright to Captain America. And it was no doubt in my mind that Joe Simon and Jack Kirby invented Captain America because if Stan Lee may have not even been born yet, and if he was an adolescent child. And so later on, Stan Lee, taking credit for inventing Captain America in some way, in some part, is so ridiculous. And the company itself suing and winning because they go to Jack Kirby and coerce him and say, well, if you want to keep working here, you're going to agree with us. And so he turns against Joe Simon, his ex-partner, in the court case. So, it just chaps my ass all the way from, Schuster and Simon getting shafted on Superman to everything that happens. The comic book business, you may love it, but it never loves you back like it should,
Well, see, when I was doing a lot of commercial art in the 80s, 90s, it was just known that whatever you painted or drew, the company could just keep it. Unless later on you start having contracts where you go, well, I'm going to put in that I'm keeping the artwork. Well, for a long time I didn't do that because then they would just find someone else. So they had that over my head. They're like, well, then you won't get the job. Well, I had a friend that was older than me, and he'd been doing this even longer, and he would bring work to me because he didn't want to do it because he knew they would keep their originals, and he wanted to keep them. So then he'd say, well, Alan will do it for you, because I had 3 kids and a wife to support, and he didn't. So I had no choice. I'm just like, here's your art, keep it, and I didn't have a choice. But now when I started doing comic book stuff, for some reason, they always sent me the covers and things I did back in the 80s.
Well, that's lovely. That's lovely.
I know.
I have our final topic, Alan. Our final topic of the day, folks, is the really luxurious movie, Death on the Nile. As we follow Hercules Quattro, or whatever the heck his name is, the detective, on quite a thrilling adventure as he tries to figure out who the killer is. And I really loved this movie, from the visuals to the way the tension was ratcheted up, the actors. I love the time period. It's like a time travel thing where you get to go back and see how the world was at this point in history. So I just thought it was great. And, the boat sails down the Nile in the movie. So they give you fantastic views of the different things that are along, the pyramids and so on, and just a really, really terrific movie. I have never seen Murder on the Orient Express, which I guess is made by this same guy. He not only directs, he stars in these films, and he directs and stars in Death on the Nile, and I thought the directing was beautifully done. Just old-style, beautiful movie making, the way you really don't see it done anymore. I really, really liked it, and I thought that the people they cast was so brilliantly done, especially the lady who plays the performer, who sings and plays the guitar in this movie. She doesn't have a lot to do, doesn't say a lot, but her performance is terrific, and her, the main character, the detective, is falling in love with her, or at least is attracted to her, and you can really feel that exchange between them as he's interrogating her. So I thought this was a great film for adults. Really, really great. I know, Alan, you did not have a chance to see it, unfortunately, because, of course, you have a very busy life. But what are your thoughts on Death on the Nile?
Well, I saw the trailer, and I totally agree. The camera work and the lighting and the costuming, oh my God, it was impressive, very impressive. And I don't think I saw the earlier movies either, where I'd seen the trailers for those. The closest thing I'd seen to that movie would be the Knives Out, where they're all trying to figure out. They're in a mansion, though, and they're trying to figure out who did the murder. And I'm usually not attracted to those kind of films, but I do also appreciate when I see good filmmaking, and acting. Doesn't matter what the subject matter is. I'm still learning, from what I'm watching.
I'm glad you brought up Knives Out. I saw that movie twice. Thought it was great. Mm-hmm. Very much the same kind of vibe. But I have to say, Death on the Nile, better than Knives Out, even though Daniel Craig gives a masterful performance. What Death on the Nile does successfully is it puts you in the shoes of the hero. And you are just as confused and mystified as to who is killing. Because what happens, I don't want to spoil anything, but people start dropping like flies in the last 10 minutes. And somebody's killing everybody. And right. The detective doesn't know who it is. We don't know who it is. And it seems like he can't save anybody. Because when he's, making attempts to protect and to, stop all this from happening, more people are getting killed. So he ends up in a tornado of this, and the tension is absolutely terrific. You really have this feeling from his point of view as to what the heck's happening. Anyway, I loved it on every level, and I gave it a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Nearly perfect movie for me. I couldn't recommend it enough. Every single thing about it is terrific. Gal Gadot has that old movie star presence, and they make her look intensely beautiful and rich. And she doesn't have to stretch it very far to look intensely beautiful.
Right.
And so she's so elegant and so beautiful in this thing. It's fantastic. So if I was you, Alan, I would definitely try to see this in the theaters because the Egyptian vistas are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
They show you Karnak and the pyramids and things. And I think it's all done digitally. I believe it is. And it is gorgeous. Just great camera work all the way around. I want to go see it again, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I liked it that much.
I know we were talking about going to see Uncharted.
Yes, we were talking about it.
Unfortunately, I've read some really bad reviews. I have this one thing because I don't know anything else. But the guy that reviewed it had played the games Uncharted, so there's different games this is based on. And the guy, and it's another kind of a reacher situation where they pick someone that doesn't look like the character in the games to be the lead character in the movie. And so that kind of, a lot of people were not happy with that, evidently.
Uncharted is unfortunately making money, which means you're going to make another one. I think what Sony Pictures said to themselves, well, who's a hot actor? And they looked over at Spider-Man, and Spider-Man has, made $1 billion, I think.
Yeah.
And they say, we got this guy. He's popular. And I think they just plugged Tom Holland in because he is a very affable, likable person. He's an actor that you sort of immediately empathize with. You don't think he's a dick. So he has a lot of likability factor. But, yeah, he is so miscast terribly. And I think the bigger overall problem with the picture, let's take the poor actors out of it, is this is a check the box, by numbers, nonsensical. Let's go here, let's go here, let's go there, let's go here. Open the book, tells you to go to the other place. move an object, tells you to go back to the other place. So it's just a treasure hunt search in a green screen room with actors running around. You know what I mean?
And one of the scenes I've seen, clips anyway, is where he falls out of a plane and all these boxes are tied together and they're all flowing behind the plane, and he's jumping from box to box or flying from box. It's just so utterly impossible, that anyone could do that. And that's what reminded me of what I didn't like in the last Indiana Jones movie, where they were both standing on jeeps and riding through the jungle and pulling on ropes like Tarzan. It's like, what the hell?
It's the physics is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the CG is just on the point where it's not good enough to make it fun. Like Jurassic Park, I don't think there's any dinosaurs anywhere, but man, the CG is really, really good. They sell it,
Yeah.
That movie looks like they're running around in a green screen world. And you're right. If you've ever been on the roof of a car and your buddies drove around with you on the roof of a car, which I have done, it's easy to get thrown off the roof of a car. The momentum turning a corner at 15 miles an hour throws you off the roof like a sack of groceries.
And they weren't driving through the jungle either.
No, but the momentum of being in an airplane going hundreds of miles an hour, and to think that you wouldn't be sucked away like a pigeon, it's so ridiculous, I love the Uncharted games. I played every one of them at least twice. The games are terrific. Even though I have Movie Pass and I can see the movie for free, I still can't convince myself to give up 2 hours to go see that thing. So that may go unreviewed by us, Alex.
I think Tomb Raider had something to do with Uncharted. Was it like a spinoff of Uncharted? It had something to do with it, or it's just similar,
I don't know.
Game.
Similar. Very similar.
But Tomb Raider I used to love. I used to play that, and it had a lot of climbing in the jungle and, the same situation. Yeah.
The Uncharted games always gave you certain set pieces where you were, like one of them is like a train goes off a mountain. So you have to traverse through the train upwards, the broken train on the side of the mountain. And meanwhile, the bits of the train are falling under you as you're crawling, So each one of the games had amazing set pieces, just like the boxes behind the plane. That's right from the games. Mm-hmm. Where you would do these incredible things, or you'd be in a 60-car chase and you would jump from car to car to car to car, as you're killing and maiming people. So you're taking out the whole convoy. So the games were machined, written, created in such a way that they were really, really fun to play. Certain sequences, very exciting and ahead of their time in some ways. And what's great about the Uncharted games is they hold your hand. If you're not a gamer, quote unquote, which I was not when I started playing Uncharted, it's really great. That's a great introductory game for people like me who are old and don't have a lot of skills gaming, like my daughter. It's a great entry series because it's exciting. It's broken into chapters that you can replay logically, which appeals to my mind. So you don't have to do a save and then lose an hour if you fail, things like that. So anyway, it's a very fun game to play for people who aren't perhaps intense gamers. It's a great introductory game. In fact, that's how I got it. I bought a PlayStation 4, and it came free with Uncharted, and I popped it in and played it, and I was like, man, this is great. So that's how it came to be in my life.
Well, that's why anything I couldn't play Nintendo games. Nintendo games, you're jumping, you're like the monkeys, and Donkey Kong kind of looking guy, and you're jumping and jumping and jumping, and you do it for 15 minutes, and then you die, and you're right before the next save, so you got to do it all again. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's maddening. That is maddening. I'm still not great at games. When it comes to boss fights, I guess, I still am not able to really do it, and so I usually just hand the controller to my daughter, and it doesn't matter what the game, she may have never played it. She may have never seen it. In fact, that's mostly the games I play. She's uninterested in my games. She will be able to beat the boss first try in an instant, just totally slay him without any problem. Doesn't matter what the complication is. Like, one of them was climb all these different things and then do a timer. And if you don't do the timer in time, you have to replay it. I played it like 1,000 times for hours. And I'm like, I'm going to kill myself. She comes in first time.
Wow.
And so she's so intuitive and so quick with the buttons. And like I said, it doesn't matter what the game is. She's like, oh, it's this. Doesn't matter if it's cowboy shooting or sword fighting or boat racing. Like, I have a lot of weird games. She can just win it.
Wow.
She's been playing since she was 5, though. She's always had computers and gaming systems. So it's born into her DNA now. Her hands are so fast that it's like, and I can't even, like, when I'm playing a game, like, so what do I do now? Oh, they killed me.
Right.
I lose my head and I'm like, what happened?
I raised my son on the first-person games, mostly Doom. I got him hooked on that. He was like 8 or 10 or something. And I went to visit him just recently. He's 39, and he has the gaming chair and the double screen. He's got everything, and he's got the headphones on, and he's just kicking ass on all these battle games,
yeah.
He's so good.
I'm addicted to the Far Cry games. I play them all. I think they're really, really fun. And I was, playing Far Cry and enjoying it. I think I played 2 games. And one day, I didn't, I'm so ignorant. I didn't know that there was thousands and millions of hours of gaming stuff on YouTube. Duh. And so I look up this, I look it up, and I see this guy take over one of these complicated bases in about 35 seconds. The video is him sliding in, killing multiple guys, up on a roof, killing more guys, backflip off the roof, arrow, kills more guys, and the whole thing's over. Like, I didn't even know you could play a game like that. And so that, by seeing that done, it's, one man could do, another man could do. By seeing that guy's video, it elevated me with games. It changed my whole gaming experience, because now I go in, it doesn't matter if I'm in a base of 500 guys and I'm all alone with a machine gun and a rocket launcher. I am taking down that base of 500 guys. You know what I mean? Like, I am not intimidated anymore. Because that guy showed me what could be done if you're able to do it, so to speak. So anyway, I love watching people play games now. I get it. Why there's a Twitch, and there's other gaming channels, because it's cool. Like watching someone who can play the piano masterfully. It's awesome to watch someone who can play a game masterfully. It's really cool. I know I sound like a geek, but I totally like it. It's really awesome.
Well, my TV, when I first hooked it up, it's just streaming, and I found this Pluto channel, and it's like free. It's like NBC for free, but it's not channels I've heard of. And one of them was all gaming, and it was just them narrating, watching people that are really good, and that's the whole show, when they're just going, oh, look what he just did, and look what he's doing now. It's like it's Channel 7 News, but it's Far Cry or something.
How about the guys who do the speed runs? A game that takes, 65 hours, they do in 90 minutes. And it's just incredible. They'll leap out windows, kill this, onto a helicopter, bomb this, do that, because they know the essential things to do to trigger the next event in the game, And it's just, when I first saw my first speed run, I was blown away.
Yeah.
I had spent like 3 months playing, I think it was Fallout 4. Finally getting to the end. This guy does it in like 2.5 hours. It was like, oh my gosh, how could you even do that? It's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Well, folks, if you don't know it, Alan is not only the host of the show, he is an incredibly talented filmmaker and comic book maker. And Alan, tell us about your movie and tell us about your comic book.
Okay. The comic book is Dr. Pepper's Steampunk Hero. It's a 76-page color magazine created by Dean LaCrone and me, Alan Freeman. And Dean LaCrone is also the actual real-life Dr. Pepper's. We created the cosplay character, like in 2012, and he's been wearing the outfit, and he keeps adding on to it and going to different conventions dressed as Dr. Pepper's. And so we, in 2020, started working on the Dr. Pepper's Steampunk Hero, and it's on Amazon. You can put that title in, and it's $20. It's 76 pages in color, magazine size, slick color pages, and we have 14 contributors that contribute comic strips and art pinups of Dr. Pepper. So anyway, the book is based on a 1965 Marvel comic with the bulletin, the news, and the new books. I made all that up for this book. It's also issue 76 or something. We made it look like it's right in the middle of the series of Dr. Pepper's, like he's been going on for years. And we think everyone's going to really enjoy it. Plus, it's like Mad Magazine also, where I created all these crazy ads, and Dr. Pepper's is in a lot of those as well. But Dan is a contributor, and you did quite a bit in there, and we appreciated it, and we hope everyone will give it a try and see if they like it. And then the movie is Get Lost in the Outdoors, and Dean LaCrone again, and I created this movie with some friends, Jacob Dubazinski, and Julie Kaufman, Vienna Rice, and Robin Satori. We all are in the movie, and it's a 90-minute feature comedy about a 39-year-old man who decides he's been trying for 30 years to get his Junior Ranger badge, and we thought that was pretty hilarious because that's something a 7 to 12-year-old would probably have already gotten. So anyway, we submitted it to 22 film festivals. We are now in 5 film festivals, and we have now won 3 times. We've won Best Comedy. Oh, and the movie is on YouTube for free. Yeah.
That is quite an amazing feat to win Best Comedy, and it is on YouTube for free. How do they find that, Alan?
They search for Get Lost in the Outdoors, and you could add Alan Freeman onto the search.
Excellent. I've seen the movie twice. It's hilarious. It's a lot of laughs. It's family friendly. I can say that. So if you want something to kick back with, everybody can watch it. It's a zany comedy. I couldn't recommend it enough. I thought you did a fantastic job making the movie, and I'm just so impressed because I know how much work it takes to make a movie, and you did it. So hats off to you.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you all for stopping in today and visiting with me and Alan. It's always a pleasure to sit and talk about things with Alan, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tune in again. We'll be back for more of Alan and Dan Review Stuff. Have a great day. I love how I don't know any actors' names on any show that I review, so I think that's a big plus. The lady that plays the witch.
I know.